Hello dear students. Today we are going to start the new chapter number 15, structure of atoms and nuclei. Now structure of atom is not new for us. We have already studied regarding this from fifth chapter when we started learning science. So this is very fundamental subject for us. But here we will discuss about the structure of atom and nuclei in very much details. We will study different models or different experiments done by various physicians here. So the physicist has invented the structure of atom in their own way. Like the Greek philosopher were the first scientists to propose in the 5th century BC that matter is made up of individual parts called atoms. Now we also know that atom is the smallest fundamental part of matter, means matter is made up of small tiny particles called atoms, and that atoms cannot be break into smaller particle. So atom is the fundamental part, like body is having fundamental part as cell. So this atom is the fundamental part of matter. So according to his, the matter is made up of indestructible particles and atoms of a given element and identical. So what does it mean actually? The atom is like they can't be break into further small particles, and atoms of a given element are identical, means all the atoms from the same element will be identical. Atoms can combine with other atoms to form new substance. So these are very fundamental things we learned, but at that time this Greek philosopher has invented all these things. So for that time this invention is very tremendously important invention of that time. So that atoms were indestructible was shown to be wrong by the experiment of J.J. Thomson. Now we know that J.J. Thomson has performed very important experiment, and after that he discovered electron in 1887. So J.J. Thomson has performed a gold coil experiment, and we have studied that experiment in previous classes. So J.J. Thomson, who discovered electron in 1887, he then proceeded to give his atomic model, which had some deficiencies, was later improved by Ernest Rutherford. Now what happened? He has discovered that something is there, or the basic structure of atom. But after that, what Ernest Rutherford had done and Neil Bohr had done, they have given the practical assumptions or practical proof that something is very interesting in atoms, and they have proof for the fundamental uh, particles present in atom. So in this chapter, we will learn that the atom contains a tiny nucleus whose size or radius, we can say, is about 10,000 times smaller than the size of atom. So the nucleus contains all positive charge of atom and also 99.9% of its mass. So this is very interesting thing is here. In this chapter, we will also study the properties of nucleus, the forces and which will help us to keep it intact, its radioactive decay, and many more things. So here we will discuss about the radioactivity also. We will discuss about the alpha decay. We know these are the alpha, beta, gamma. These are all kind of radiation, and we will discuss about the radioactivity here and different types of decay. After that, we will study about the different models discussed by various scientists to prove the structure of atom. So basic thing we know, atom is a fundamental part of matter. It has electron which is negatively charged. It has proton which is present in nucleus along with the neutrons. Neutron is neutral and protons are having positive charge. So all these things we are going to remember one time again, and we will discuss the some important things which will help us to understand the very interesting structure of an atom. So firstly we will discuss the Thomson atomic model. So Thomson performed several experiments with glass vacuum tube where a voltage was applied between the two electrodes inside in an evacuated tube. Just like we have also studied this is photoelectric effect, where there is two electrodes inside the evacuated tube. So the cathode was seen to emit rays which produces a glow when they struck the glass behind the anode. By studying the properties of this ray, he concluded that the rays are made up of negatively charged particles which he called electrons. And this demonstrated that the atoms are not indestructible. They contain electrons which are emitted by the cathode. Thomson proposed his model of an atom in 1903. According to this model, an atom is a sphere having a uniform positive charge in which electrons are embedded. This model is referred to as a plum pudding model. The total positive charge is equal to the total negative charge of electron in the atom, so rendering it electrically neutral. Atom, as the whole solid sphere is uniformly positive charge, the positive charge cannot come out, and only the negative charge electrons which are small can be emitted. The model also explains the formation of ions and ionic compound. The formation of ions and ionic compound. However, further experiment on structure of atoms which are described below showed the distribution of charges to be very different than was proposed in Thomson model. So this was the experiment done by Thomson at the early stages, where the people are very unaware about the structure of atoms. So at that time when he performed this simple experiment where the two electrodes are inside the evacuated tube and cathode is seen to be emit rays. Okay, so after that what he has discovered that the atom is nothing but the sphere is having uniform positive charge outside and similar or equal charges inside. So what he has discovered that the atom is neutral by charge. So this was his study. After that we need to study the Ziegler-Merton experiment. So in order to understand the structure of atoms, Rutherford suggested an experiment for scattering of alpha particle by atoms. Now alpha particles are helium nuclei and are positively charged, having charge of 2 protons. The experiment was performed by his colleague Ziegler and Merton between 1908 and 1930. A sketch of this experiment shown in this figure. So you can see this experiment. So alpha particle from a source were collimated, focused into a narrow beam and were made to fall on a gold foil. The scattered particle produce scintillation on the surrounding screen. Now this scintillation means it helps to uh, or what we can say, shining brightly. So what does that beam do? So you can see in this diagram the source of particle is there, the collimator is there, which is help us to focus this beam on a particular point. The scintillations could be observed through a microscope, means it will help us to find the scintillation means bright intensity is very bright or shining is there, so which could be moved to cover different angles with respect to the inclined beam. Now it was found that the most alpha particles pass straight through the foil when a few are deflected through various scattering angles. A typical scattering angle is shown by theta. Only about 0.14% of the incident alpha particle were scattered through angles larger than 0.1 degree. Even out of this, most were deflected through very small angles. About 1 alpha particle in 8000 was deflected through angle larger than 90 degree, and a fewer still were deflected through angles as large 180 degree. So this is not that much important to remember how much degree its inclination there. What the point is here, you need to remember that the beam gets deflected. That means there are some negatively charged fundamental particles or positive charged fundamental particles present in atoms, which uh, which help us or which forces the light or the beam diffracted from their path. Okay, so this is Jigger and Murdson experiment. You can see the diagram where source of particle, that is alpha particle, are used here. Collimator is used here. Then detector is also used to measure the angle of the diffracted ray. Gold foil is there. Okay, so this is very important Jigger Murdson experiment at early stages where we don't know about the fundamental particles of atom. After that, the important one, the Rutherford's atomic model. Now we know that Rutherford invented electron, proton, and Sir Chadwick invented neutron. So let's see what the Rutherford's atomic model is about. So result of this Jigger Murdson experiment could not be explained by Thomson's model. In that model, the positive charge was uniformly spread over the large sphere. Now see, जब भी कोई ऐसे साइंटिस्ट कोई परफॉर्म करता है, कोई भी मॉडल वहाँ पे एक सजेस्ट करता है, so that model will have some background with the other model, the previous model done by other scientists. So they need to verify all that assumptions given by the earlier scientist model. So what this Jigger and Murdson experiment could not explain in Thomson model, in that model the positive charge was uniformly spread over the charge. We know that. Okay, the sphere constituting the atom, the volume density of the positive charge would thus be very small, and all of the above incident alpha particle would get deflected. So यहाँ पे जो डिफ्लेक्शन हुआ है वो यहाँ पे जस्टिफाई नहीं कर रहा है कि जो बोला गया था कि थॉमसन मॉडल में कि द स्पीयर इज यूनिफॉर्मली पॉजिटिव चार्ज. अगर पॉजिटिवली चार्ज था यूनिफॉर्मली, देन व्हाई वुड इट हैड हैपन कि वो जो पार्टिकल्स है वो डिफ्रैक्ट क्यों हुए? अगर यूनिफॉर्मली थे तो वो यूनिफॉर्म डिफ्रैक्शन क्यों नहीं हुआ? Why they get diffracted with very different and small angles? Then Rutherford argued that the alpha particles which were deflected back must have encountered a massive particle with large positive charge. Maybe it can be happen so that it was repelled back. So massive particle with large positive charge may be present there. So from the fact that extremely small number of alpha particles turn back, while most other passed through almost undeflected. Now why it is happen? Some are deflected, some undeflected, some are deflected with very narrow angles. So what he concluded? He concluded that the positively charged particles in atom must be very small in size. must contain most of the mass of atom. From the experimental data, the size of this particle was found to be about 10 femtometer, that is 10 to the power minus 15 meter, which is about 10 to the power minus 5 times of the size of atom. Now the volume of this particle was thus found to be 10 to the power minus 15 times that of the atom. So he called this particle the nucleus of an atom. He proposed that the entire positive charge and the most 99.9% of the mass of the atom is concentrated in the central nucleus. Now here is the point which he has given. What does that nucleus will have? What does the mass of that nucleus? It will be the 99.9% mass of the atom. So he has given the experimental proof also there. The electron revolve around it in the circular orbit similar to the revolution of the planets around the sun in the solar system. The revolution of electron was necessary, as without it the electron would fall into the positively charged nucleus and atom would collapse. अब इमेजिन करिए कि वो घूम रहे, इलेक्ट्रॉन्स आर रिवॉल्विंग अराउंड द न्यूक्लियस, बट व्हाट विल हैपन इफ अगर वहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ है कि रिवॉल्व होते 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 वो जो इलेक्ट्रॉन है वो न्यूक्लियस में कोलैप्स हो गया, तो व्हाट विल हैपन? द एटम विल कोलैप्स. बट ऐसा नहीं होता. they are having some energy level. The particular electron is having particular energy level और उसी energy level में वो revolve होते रहते हैं. The space between the orbits of the electron which decide the size of the atom and the nucleus is mostly empty. Thus, most alpha particles pass through this empty space undefected, and a very few which are in direct line with the tiny nucleus or are extremely close to it get repelled and get deflected through large angles. So this model was also explains why no positively charged particles are emitted by atom while negatively charged electrons are. So this is because of the large mass of the nucleus which does not get affected when force is applied on the atom. So this can be asked in question, asked in exam. So remember this. So let's discuss some difficulties with Rutherford's model. Though this model in its basic form is still accepted, it faces certain difficulties. We know from Maxwell equation that an accelerated charge emits electromagnetic radiation. An electron in Rutherford model moves uniformly along a circular orbit around the nucleus even though the magnitude of its velocity is constant. Its direction changes continuously and so the motion is an accelerated motion. So thus the electron should emit electromagnetic radiation continuously and also it emits radiation. Its energy would decreases, consequently the radius of its orbit would decreases continuously. So it would then spiral into the nucleus causing the atom to collapse and lose its atomic property. As the electron loses energy, its velocity changes continuously and the frequency of radiation emitted would be also changed continuously as it moves towards the nucleus. None of these things are observed. जैसे कि मैंने पहले भी बोला कि अगर वहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स रिवॉल्व होते होते न्यूक्लियस में गिर जाते तो एटम्स वुड कोलैप्स, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होता. नन ऑफ दिस थिंग्स आर ऑब्जर्व. फर्स्टली, मोस्ट एटम्स आर वेरी स्टेबल And secondly, they do not constantly emit electromagnetic radiation. The very important thing is here, they do not constantly emit electromagnetic radiation, and definitely not of varying frequency. The atoms have to be given energy by heating for them, just for example by heating. So for them to be able to emit radiation, and even then they emit electromagnetic radiations for particular frequencies, as will be seen in the next section. So Rutherford model failed on all these counts. So some things which has given by the Rutherford model are very important to understand the structure of atom, but some of the clauses given by them were was not suitable to understand the structure of atom. So these are some difficulties regarding the Rutherford model. Now let's see the atomic spectra. Now spectrum, we know that it's a band of radiation, we can say. So here atomic spectra is what? We know that when the metallic object is heated, it emits radiation of different wavelengths. So when this radiation is passed through a prism, now you might have known the prism. Prism we have also seen in a practical lab while doing the experiment in 11th standard. So we get a continuous spectrum. From that, if we use the prism to observe the white light, many times you can see this kind of spectra which are having the radiation of different wavelengths. So we get a continuous spectrum. However, the case is different when we heat hydrogen gas inside a glass tube to high temperature. The emitted radiation has only few selected wavelengths, and when passed through a prism, we get what is called as line spectrum, as shown in this figure. So as shown for the visible range, it shows that hydrogen emits radiation for wavelength 410 nanometer, 434 nanometer, 486 nanometer and 656 nanometer, and thus not emit any radiation with the wavelengths in between these wavelengths. So this line seen in the spectrum called as emission lines. So this is the hydrogen spectrum in which you are able to see only four kinds of radiation with different wavelengths. So hydrogen atom also emit radiation at some other value of wavelengths in the ultraviolet and infrared region at longer wavelength. So the spectral lines can be divided into groups known as series with the name of scientists who studied them. So the series starting from the shorter wavelength and going to the larger wavelengths are called as Lyman series, Barman series, Paschen series and Brackett series, Pfund series. Now all these series we will study, they are named after the scientists who have discovered them or who have studied them in detail. So in each series the separation between successive lines decreases as we go towards the shorter wavelength and they reach a limiting value. Now this you can see the Lyman Balmer Paschen series in the hydrogen spectrum. So you can see this Lyman limit from 90 nanometer to 120 nanometer. After that Balmer limit is from 400 nanometer to 600 nanometer. After that Paschen series is 0.5 micrometer to 2.0 micrometer. Now these are the lines, you can say these are the fine lines in the radiation. Now the observed wavelength of the emission lines are found to obey the relation. Now this is directly one relation is given here. Okay, you just need to remember the relation, though there is no derivation for the same. So this is the ready-made formula, we can say. We have consider that 1 by lambda means the reciprocal of wavelength can be given as r in bracket 1 by n square minus 1 by m square. Now L is the wavelength of the line, r is the constant, n and m are the integers for Lyman-Balmer-Paschen series, while m takes all the integral value greater than n for that series. So the wavelength decreases with the increase in m. The difference in wavelengths of successive line in such series can be calculated with this equation. Now atoms of other elements also emit line spectra. The wavelengths of the lines emitted by each element are unique so much that we can identify the element from the wavelengths of spectral lines it emits. So Rutherford's model could not explain the atomic spectra. Now this atomic spectra is very important topic from here. Okay, so this atomic spectra you need to understand what are the different kinds of series. And this particular atomic spectra is for hydrogen, because hydrogen is having only one electron and one proton. So it is very useful to understand the atomic structure using hydrogen. So this is about the structure of atoms. So this is what we have studied. What is the most important thing here we have studied? The Jigar-Merson experiment, Rutherford's atomic model and difficulties, and after that the atomic spectra. So this is what we have studied for tomorrow. We'll discuss the another part of the same chapter in detail in next session. Till then, goodbye and take care.